I've been thinking about this one. I've been assaulted several times. I've been shot at. Several different things have happened. So I'm going to focus on the one where I was shot at. So up in, I want to say, where was this? I think it's Clayton, which is kind of an unincorporated rural area of Contra Costa County.
Okay.
Well, there's a big mountain there up in Clayton. You end up, you drive up a, dirt road. You had to have a 4-wheel drive to get into it. I tried going up originally, in my car, and got up maybe the first bump. And then after that, it was like, no.
You're listening to Process Server Daily, the show where hustle meets strategy in the high-stakes world of process serving. From elite pros to the new servers taking massive action, these are the voices of a rising industry. Hosted by the founder of 123 Legal Support, Mighty Mike Reid. This is your backstage pass to building a profitable process serving empire. Let's get into it.
President of D&R Legal Process Services, LLC, located in San Francisco Bay Area, California. He's a second-generation process server for over 22 years, as well as a former board member of CalisPro and boasting over 160 five-star reviews across different platforms online. Jason Burke, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me on, man.
Hey, this has been great, man. Ever since I first started doing this podcasting journey, I heard that you had dabble with the idea of having a podcast and process serving, and so I've always wanted to have you come on the show and kind of tell your story of being a process server and everything. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your personal life.
I've been married to my wife for 17 years. We have 2 kids, 12 and 13. I was thinking about starting a podcast. I'm still thinking about starting a podcast. Yeah. I'm just not taking the action to do it, and I don't want to start something and then not be around to stick around to finish it. So that's probably the main reason, because we're super busy.
Yeah, but as process servers, we're unless you're, just starting it up and hiring process servers and then pitching, and then selling it, then you're working, you're constantly filling holes and stuff. So good stuff. So, you listen to the show, you're one of the greatest, one of the greatest fans, if you will, of the Process Server Daily thing. And I just really appreciate you. But so, we like to start with the negative. But first, before we dive into that, we are going to, because we want to end on a positive note. But first, I want to get into, how did you get started in this industry?
Technically, I'm a second-generation process server. My parents bought the business from, I think it was Deanna and Robert. I think that's what the D&R stand for.
Oh, wow.
They bought it back when I was probably in middle school or high school. Had tons of managers running through the office, screwing it up and messing it up. And then as soon as I turned 18, I started serving papers. Before that, I was, out with my dad, being annoyed and bored, rather than at home playing video games. And then from there, once I got out of high school and, a little bit of time in junior college, and went, I spend more time here in the office. I don't want to do that. Let me just run it. And then it's been, going from there and just rebuilding the business every few years.
That's so funny. So your second generation process server, there's a couple things I always think about is that you had something else that you wanted to do, right? Or is this did you just know that this was for you?
No, it's, what, that's been kind of a tough thing, because the last few years I've been kind of down on the business. But and that was the toughest thing for me, is trying to figure out if I wasn't doing this, what would I do? Yeah. But frankly, most process servers kind of have that same thing of I make good money.
Yeah.
It's if I go get a job, it's not going to pay me the same as I'm paying myself, even if I'm, not paying, what needs to be paid for myself, and it's like, okay, well, dive back in, rebuild the business again, and, do it differently, and then do it, frankly, do it the way I want to do it rather than the way it's always been done.
Yeah. And you've shown that too. We'll get into a little bit, the reviews that you have going on, but like, that's crazy. 165-star reviews. I mean, you figured something out that a lot of people really struggle with, that really never take off. They really just never take off in that area. And, after associating with you, I've kind of like doubled down. I've created a new MailChimp like email sequence that I preach all the time, that never really used 100%. And, just directing the traffic depending on how they felt about the service. And, it's just key. And so it's really cool to see someone, we know a couple, Mike Kern, different people like that are second generations. And the thing that you notice about them is they're not overly, oh, this is what you need to do. And they're not, and at the same time, they're not the guys that you fly by night guys. They're the guys you always see that are like just consistent, and
yeah,
I think it's powerful. And what you said about, I like what you said about not know, like process servers, we get into this situation. Like I got served divorce papers. That's how I got started. And then I was like, you kidding me? You got $50 to deliver this paper, like to my house? Like I could deliver 10 of these a day easily for $50. It's like ching right away. Right. So I think that whole issue, but what did you want to do when you were a kid though?
When I was a kid, not really anything. I mean, I had this dream of like a landscape architect, but then I realized that requires math, and I suck at math. And so it's always been, it's always been, process serving was like, okay, I can do this. I can make money doing this.
Yeah.
I moved insulation, like you put like big rolls and bats of insulation.
Oh yeah.
I installed that in houses one summer. I worked the what do they call it? I worked the warehouse for the company for like a couple of summers, and that was fine for the summer. And then like after I graduated high school and like, just kind of did it a little bit after that, I went, oh, this isn't the same. I'd rather go do this other thing over here. So it's always just been there. And it's like, I don't even know what I would want to do outside of it other than like, sure, I'll be retired and then I'll figure out what I want to do.
That's funny. Yeah. I kind of feel like, for me, my dad told me, he said, just find a trade, stick to it, be the best at it, and you'll always have money in your pocket. And I remember thinking like, yeah, but that's not enough, Dad. Like I'm like an old millennial, like is it old or young? Anyways, like I don't relate to that generation generally, but I remember having the feeling of like, it can't just be something that makes money. Like it's got to be something that's my passion, right? It can't just be, so, but it's funny because as soon as I started like really focusing on this thing and just gave up like looking for some unknown thing and just, that would be my passion, I found that I could make a lot of money and I could market it like anything, like underwater basket weaving. Like, hey, I have this tank. I weave baskets under. I'll give you this experience. You could make money. I believe with enough marketing, like you're a marketing guy, with enough marketing skill, you can have any business.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And it's just figuring out like what you want to do, where you want to focus at. And I keep coming back to, this industry. Like, I know this, I've got my 10,000 or more hours into it. I'm an expert in it and, but yet I still have questions. I still have to call Mike Kern, Kenny Smith, Tony Klein, I still have questions where it's like, okay, what am I forgetting here? Or what is the deal with this? Do you run into that?
Yeah.
So you always have to be learning, and I've got, I counted it up this morning off my Stitcher app. I've listened to 5,642 hours of podcasts.
Oh my gosh.
751 hours of audiobooks. And I'm not sure if the audiobooks, if they're counting like when I re-listen to stuff, So, I mean, I'm always learning, always trying to figure something out, adding podcasts to the rotation, dropping other ones out. It's important to keep learning and, keep moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. So I know we could talk about this all day long. And that's one of the reasons I started the podcast, because process servers, we can just talk for days about what we love and what we enjoy, but let's dive into some of your stories. So take us to that moment right now where, right into that moment where you had your worst experience working in the field.
Okay. So, all right. So you did add that little bit there, working in the field, because, I've been thinking about this one. I've been assaulted several times. I've been shot at, several different things have happened. So I'm going to focus on the one where I was shot at. So up in, I want to say, where was this? I think it's Clayton, which is kind of an unincorporated rural area of Contra Costa County.
Okay.
Well, there's a big mountain there up in Clayton. You end up, you drive up a, dirt road. You had to have a 4-wheel drive to get into it. I tried going up originally, in my car, and got up maybe the first bump. And then after that, it was like, no. So I had to come back, a couple days later, borrow my father-in-law's, 4-wheel drive Jimmy, and, go up there. And, I've got my daughter in the back seat, or I think it was my daughter or my son, one of the two, sleeping in the back seat while I'm serving, heading up there. It's pretty, I've got family who lives up in the mountains. So, it was, pretty much expected to see. And then it started to get really mountainy, like where we would go camping type looking. But I guess up on top of the mountain is this guy. And it's a stupid, I swear it was like a $500 small claims action. It was just stupid. No reason for anything. Find a spot, thankfully up there, they at least have addresses. I've been to a few places where it's like, you can't, it's like, maybe this is it, or you talk to a neighbor and they're, oh no, that's like 3 things up and to the left and right again. But I get up there, I pull down into the driveway because it goes up and then it comes back down. So down into the driveway, and then thankfully I U-turned it at the back and parked my vehicle facing out. I probably have never done that before in my life, but I've never been in a, such a rural area. I live in the Bay Area. It's pretty, we're cities and stuff, but we do have some outlying rural type areas, but nothing like this, park it facing up the driveway, facing back up the driveway, get out, go to the house to the left. Turns out that's like his grandson or something like that, and he goes, oh yeah, no, that's my grandpa. He's over in that house over there. Cool, whatever. All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Start walking over there, and a guy kind of starts walking out, starts meeting me out. And I go, hey, I've got a delivery for so-and-so, da-da-da-da-da. And the guy's just total, I don't know, I guess he's, trespassing, whatever. And I go, okay, cool, dude. All right, I got a small claims for you. Here you go, drop them, start walking back to my house, walking back to my car. It's probably, I don't know, 20, 50 feet, something like that, not very far. And I swear we were probably 10 to 20 feet from his house. But I guess he must have had right there by the door a shotgun stashed. And I guess when I turned around and started walking back to my car, I guess he ran there, grabbed it. I hear something. I turn around, and just as I'm getting to the vehicle door, I start to open up. I turn and look over my shoulder, and I see the guy standing there like this, and I go, oh shit, okay. So I, jump in the car, as I shut the door, he fires direct line of sight with me, but there's a little berm that's probably like a foot high between me and the car, about halfway forward, but like directly in line of sight with me. All that, if he misses or it ricochets, it's hitting my vehicle. It could be hitting me. It's the dumbest thing in the world for him to do over like a stupid small claims car accident that insurance is going to handle anyways. Just dumb. So I scream up the driveway, down the hill, get down to where I finally have cell coverage down at the bottom, call the sheriff's department. They come out there. Of course, they recognize the guy's name. Oh yeah, we've been out here before. And they take a report. They go up and talk to him. He's a retired sheriff, but they know him and they're like, oh yeah, we're not too happy about being out here. We've had problems. But the DA's office doesn't do nothing. I'm not going to bother suing him. He's up on top of a hill. I don't want to send another server into that. I've done that before with other assaults where I've sued him in small claims, but you just got to protect yourself. You got to do what you got to do and just, be nicer to them than they are to you. And, hopefully people don't do stupid shit.
Yeah. Wow. So, yeah, I mean, that's quite a story. I got to tell you, when it comes to safety, we've been talking a lot about this in the mastermind. You're in the we're in the mastermind together, PSD mastermind. We've been talking about, this a lot and the different incidences that have been happening. And I just say, because we only have 20 or 30 minutes left. I just want to say, like, if you're out there, you're listening to this, that's crazy. Like, maybe I shouldn't be a processor or maybe what should I do to protect myself? We talk about this a lot. Just, think about, of course, have a habit of treating everyone with respect and kindness, the way that you want to be treated. But when stuff hits the fan, have a plan, like whatever it is for your area, figure it out, talk to people in your state, because it's different everywhere, but have a plan for how you're going to handle that. What would you say is your plan when you're going out and you're knocking on these doors?
Pretty much just pay attention, listen, even though it may look like I'm not listening, I may look like I'm playing on my phone or something like that. I'm listening. I'm trying to glance at windows and see if anybody's moving out, check the peephole, that kind of stuff there, and then if somebody does want to get aggressive, normally it's like, okay, sir, have a good day. Bye. I'm leaving. And if they continue to follow, then I may have to just turn around, get loud, get obnoxious. But even when I do that, I still try to be nicer to them than they are to me. And just, and most people will back off. I get nice and loud, get grizzly bear like, and just yell that, I'm a registered process server. Any contact with myself or my vehicle is a felony, back off. And most people will. Occasionally they won't. But normally what they want to do is just stick documents under your windshield wiper and that kind of stuff. And we've all dealt with that, where we get out, we throw them back out on the ground, and then we try to take off, and they try to do it again. It's just a whole game.
That's awesome. So as we go on here, just keep that in mind. That's kind of the low point of the show. We talk about that. We talk about your worst experience, but I feel like every time we do, it's a very educational experience. It really is. So take the opportunity to plan out your exit plan. I love how you were saying, you back down the driveway or like back up to where, like you have an exit plan to be able to get out. That's super important. When you pull into like a cul-de-sac, don't just pull right up to the house. Don't pull in the driveway. There's all these different little tips, that you don't do to try to keep yourself safe. So good stuff. Well, let's go on to your greatest experience. Tell me about the moment where you had the greatest experience working in the field or just in general in the industry.
I think my greatest experience was probably within the last year or so, where I got my business back up to being stronger than it's ever been before. I'm not, 100% dependent on affiliate work. I charge enough that, I'd rather do that attorney work, and the affiliate work that I'm doing is basically to be a nice guy. It's like, don't bug me. You're paying like a third of what I normally charge.
Yeah.
But it'll get done. Your problems are not my problems. And I think that's probably my greatest moment. And a lot of it had to do with the reviews that I got. A lot of it had to do with taking the risk of raising prices, 50%, and then just trusting in myself and, and figuring out that, because I've been trying to figure out for years, like, how do I show how good I am? I'm a really good process server. I take get good care of my clients. Like, how do I show new clients that? And then that's when I kind of, been hearing it for years from my buddy Steve on his podcast at Masters, and it's social proof, and it's figuring out like, okay, this is what it is, and it's been so powerful, and that's been so powerful for my business.
Yeah. So a couple of things I take from that. So you're saying your greatest experience was like taking those reviews and like making them, or taking that action and like, and raising your prices. Would you say that is kind of like
but I was almost out of business, probably end of 2017, maybe end of 2016. I'm not sure if it's been a year or 2 years that I've, raised rates and pushed real hard and got a system in place for my reviews. But I was looking at like, what else can I do? I had a friend going, well, maybe you could be like a general manager, and just run operations at some company or something like that. And I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I can run my own company. I don't think I can run somebody else's, And so I was like, seriously, like, I was almost out of business. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't fun. I'm not making money. We lost our house a few years back, probably a couple of years after the big, the Great Recession, I think they're calling it now. And it was a really tough time. And then to finally dig out of that. And then now I'm primarily out of debt. We're out, we're financially stable, we're into our own place. There's just so much that, rebuilding my business again, and doing it the right way, has provided for me, for me and my family.
That's good. What I take from that story is this, your greatest experience is that, don't let the down times like kill you. Like you can take some action, like I've been saying, mighty action since January. That's kind of been my thing. Good stuff. That's a good story. So let's move on. What are you working on right now that you're most excited about?
Most excited about, I don't know. Right now I'm just trying to, put out the fires and keep the amount of work I've got in check. 'Cause like I've got a lot of work and I need help, but I don't want help, especially with some of the new laws that we have had in California. So I'm looking at, new process serving software. I'm looking at automation. I'm looking at, just, trying to get back where it's not such a rush and, where I can make good money and it can slide down a little bit. So I've been thinking a lot about maybe discontinuing some of, a couple of my affiliate areas are probably going bye-bye. But I've been seriously considering just not doing affiliate work, just to open up some time, just because I don't have the time right now.
Hey, quick break from the episode to tell you about something that's changing the game for process servers across the country. It's called Mighty Process Servers. And yeah, you can join absolutely free. Inside, you'll get full access to every course, every download, and the educational tools that we use to help process servers build profitable companies. We meet every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern for our live Mighty Mastermind call. Come join the conversation. You can connect with other professionals, post on the discussion board, direct message members, and become part of one of the most engaged communities for process servers. Don't wait. Go to mightyprocessserver.com and join today. Those who get verified get listed and start bidding on jobs same day. Now, let's get back to the show.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Jason? What do you think makes your business different from the other businesses in your area?
I've thought about that for years. Like, what makes me different than anybody else? I don't think there's anything that makes me different. I'm not special. I'm not anything. but I do take the time on the phone. I answer questions. I answer my phone. I get that a lot from when talking to people. Oh my God, you answered your phone. And I try to get stuff done and get stuff back out. I hear, some of the marketing stuff I've done, blog posts I've done. I think just the reputation I've kind of earned in the area. I hear a lot of complaints about other process servers. And most of the time I can see why they might be out there knocking on a door at 5 o'clock in the morning, but you have to look at it from the person you're serving, you need to show them some respect. Yeah, it might be best for you to be out there and, maybe if you've been out there a bunch of times and you're not getting an answer at the door, okay, maybe try it, but not your first 6 attempts. Probably should not be at 5 o'clock in the morning. Treat the people you're serving with respect, and I just care for what you're doing. My job is to deliver legal papers so that these people have notice of what's coming up. If I don't do that, they're probably going to get served through publication, which they're not going to have any clue of. So technically I'm really working for the defendant to give them their proper notice, and I just happen to get paid by the other side. And I want to get it done, and sometimes they want to avoid, but hey, it's in your best interest that I get this to you, because otherwise it's going to happen whether you want it to or not.
That's good stuff. Well, I think that you're providing a great service there. Of course, answering the phones, those are some great tips. Do you want to prank somebody, or do you want to go the rapid fire round?
Let's just go straight to the rapid fire.
Okay, man. Hey, I don't know. The rapid fire is intense, man. It's intense.
Yeah, I'll think about maybe next time we'll prank somebody. I'll have to think about who I'd want to prank, because you guys got the best one, the one who's going to react the best already.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody who's going to react, frankly, worse than Mike Santos.
Yeah, that was the good stuff. Yeah. Prank a process server is a new segment, but not everybody wants to do it. So we still have the rapid fire round.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, good. Welcome back to the show. Jason, are you ready for the rapid fire round?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. What is your favorite skip trace tactic?
My favorite skip trace tactic is to give the job to my private investigator and let him do it.
That's good
then
stuff.
I can upsell it. And I'm not selling a skip trace. I'm selling a private investigation.
Do you do skip tracing? No, actually, I have a private investigator on retainer.
Exactly.
That handles that for me.
Call up looking for skip tracing. I go, I have a private investigator. He does this. We're actually allowed to provide you with a report. I charge double, just double his price. And
wow.
It's still, people are like, that's all it costs. Really?
That's awesome. That's a good little tactic. So, how do you track your cases?
Currently I'm using ProServe as my process serving software, but as everybody should know, and if you don't know, it's a dead system.
Mm-hmm.
Mike passed away a year or two ago, and people are losing their systems. So I'm in the process of figuring out where I want to go and what I want to do for which process serving software. But you got to have software. You got to have something that tracks everything for you, that you can go in and look up. Like, I served something 3 years ago. What was it? Oh yeah, here it is, right here. You got to be able to track your stuff.
Yeah, it's true. And so, like I said, I use Serve Manager, but, I've tried them all, PST, TriStar, these different ones. They're for different purposes, they all have their value. And, but Serve Manager definitely for the automation side of it has been big for me. I actually spoke to Ted. I know this is a rapid fire round, but I spoke to Ted and he was like, I was trying to save ProServe. He was trying to save a little bit. And so I feel bad for that situation, but
yeah.
What do you do? Yeah. What book would you recommend?
All right. So I'm gonna recommend one that I read recently and that has become so important. It's a personal finance book. So it's not one of your general business books that you're going to see, but it's Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Okay. Everybody complains about the title. Title's fine. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. Okay. It tells you what tells you what the book's about. personal finance, tells you, how you should deal with your bills, what type of accounts you should have, where you should be investing your money in. As process servers, our businesses, unless you're super big, our businesses are not worth that much because our businesses are based around us. We are the face of our businesses. Even if you put systems in place, the big guys are going to come in like, I'll give you $10,000 for your business, and it's like, okay, cool. Cause I was getting 0 before, so I'll take the 10 grand,
Exactly.
Unless you're like a really big company. I think, I want to say Provest just bought like JJL or something out in the middle of the country somewhere. That was probably a big sell, but our businesses are probably not going to be like that. So we need to make sure to take care of ourselves, IRAs, investments, other businesses that are going to produce income for us, because we can't do this forever.
That's true. That's true. So what is the greatest advice you've ever received?
Ooh. See, I should have watched one of these again recently. You should have put another one out.
I got you, man.
Let's see. Best advice. God. I'm gonna say the best advice I was ever given was to, I don't know if it was advice or it was just learning something, but learning about social proof and learning about somebody else. When somebody else says it's true and you get a group of other people to say it's true compared to when you're telling people something. So like my reviews, that's the social proof for my business. It lets all my new clients and that let them know that my old clients, think this of me. That is so important, is the idea of social proof.
That's good. I love that. So this is going to be good. And I feel like we're going to kind of beat a dead horse here, and that's okay, because I want these guys, the server nation, right? I want them to like really go home with this idea that I got from a mastermind we recently had. So this next question is a doozy. Okay. It's a good one though. What would you do if you woke up tomorrow, had all the same skills and knowledge, but you didn't know anybody and only had $100, a smartphone, and a car? How would you regrow this awesome business that you have today?
Starting from scratch has always been tough for me because I've never started anything from scratch. My business, I picked it up from my parents. They didn't start it from scratch. So I've thought about this, like, how would I restart it? I guess what I would have to do is I would go out, I'd find somebody to give me some papers to serve. If I could get paid for it, great. If I couldn't, then I would probably do it, for free. And with the idea of leave me a review, leave me a review on Google, leave me a review on Yelp, something like that. I've even considered like maybe doing that, like, give us a shot, but, I don't have to do that. I don't have to go out and do it for free and people will, I don't have to do that right now. So I haven't. But if you're starting out, kind of like, you've heard it with pizza places. I'm going to give away the first 6 pizzas away for free as long as you give me a review on Yelp or on whatever. Yeah. That's probably what I would do is start there and then show them what I can do, get the job done, and then, okay, thank you for the review. Now it's going to be, $90. It's going to be more than anybody else in the area.
That's good. That's good. Don't undervalue yourself, for sure. Yeah. That's good. Okay. And what would be your parting piece of advice for Server Nation?
You know what? My parting advice for Server Nation is going to be get as much out of your business as you can. A lot of people want to talk about, I make money in my business and I plow it right back into my business. That works great if that's a savings account like a house is, where you're going to turn around and you're going to sell it and you're going to get a boatload of money for it. That doesn't normally happen with our businesses. Okay. So you need to pull the money out of our business, get them into something else, get them into investments, get them into, another business, I'm really high on a company called Income Store right now. I'm currently saving money, to put into a business through their company. And get your money out, get it into something else so that way you have it. Because we could be legislated out of existence, pretty quickly. And, something happens and that big client of yours is now gone. There is, not very much loyalty in this industry, especially when it comes to your volume type clients. Your, family law attorneys and the attorneys have been using you for 20, 30 years. Yeah, they're pretty loyal. But if I screw up on something, they could be leaving. So get as much out of your business as you can. Get How Can I Teach You to Be Rich? Get Profit First. Get those books, learn your numbers, learn your finances, and get as much out of your company as you can.
I love that. I interviewed a guy on my other podcast that talked about profit first.
Yeah.
And I love the concept was interesting because it's like, well, if I do profit first, like, how do I pay my bills, or how do I, and it's like, the interesting thing is if you are actually becoming profitable, then that's after you figured out all of your bills and you're being careful on your expenses, you're being careful on all that stuff. So pretty powerful stuff. I really appreciate you coming on. You just, the Process Server Daily show has really taken off, nationwide coverage. I mean, all the conferences I go to, people walk up and they go, I love the show. The thing is, not as many people are willing to come on and actually be interviewed. So I commend you for coming on the show and talking about your business, talking about your story, and, just encouraging other people to kind of do the same, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and as process servers, we don't have a lot of places where we can get our names out there, get the information that's in our head, get it out into other process servers. We have your show. It's not like I can go on any of the myriad of other podcasts that I listen to. I've been on one other podcast, and that was my buddy's podcast, probably, I think, back in 2016, where he was checking out a new format and see, because he wanted to kind of expand it a bit. And we were checking that out and whatnot. Recently, he got to the point where, you think you're only allowed like 100, 150 things on like iTunes and Stitcher and those type of things there. My podcast is no longer available on any of those things. You have to go to his website because he has a page dedicated to it. But that page is also a backlink to my website. That's important to get our information out there. It's important to get out there. Don't worry about your face being out there, because I've worried about that too. Okay, people are going to like Facebook. Well, people could look on Facebook and go, oh, there's the dude who was just talking to me. Here's his face. He's a process server. He's not trying to deliver me something. I am. I'm just not telling you what I'm delivering you. But, we have to get our information out there. We need to be able to share our information. And there's not a lot of places for process servers specifically to do that.
That's true.
So get on here. I want to listen to more podcasts by Mike. I want to hear your story. I've got, 400 miles worth of gas that I got to spend listening to podcasts. So get it going.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate that, Jason. Getting people to come on, if you guys know, listen, there's some people, Andy Eston, I'll just do some name dropping, Andy Eston, Tom Bowman, some of these guys who literally created our national association. These are just gems, if you will. And so I would love anyone, in your specific state that you think would be a great person to have on the show. Just have them reach out to me. They just need to be willing to tell their story. What's your worst story, greatest story, and how'd you get started? And just have a real basic conversation like Jason and I just had. So, Jason, how can everybody keep up with everything you have going on?
I'm going to direct everybody to my website. D as in dog, R as in rabbit, legalprocess.com. And you can reach out to me on email. Send me an email if you want to chat about reviews, or you want to chat about something else, or you have questions. Give me a call. Shoot me a call. My phone number is all transferred to my cell phone. I think even if you go to the form that's there on the website, I think it even gives my cell phone number in there. so you could shoot me a text or something. But, go to my website, check it out, and then just reach out to me if you need to. If you got stuff in my area, let me know. Otherwise, I can give you a referral to somebody who can do it if I can't.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I want to personally thank you for being on the show, and I've been impressed with your story, and I'm excited to share it with the world.
That's a wrap on another episode of Process Server Daily, where the legal support industry levels up. Want to grow your process serving business with the best marketing tools, the most engaged community, and the highest ranking directory online? Visit mightyprocessserver.com. Claim your listing. Join our free community. Surround yourself with process servers who get it and build something real. From the field to the courtroom, this is Process Server Daily. Until next time, stay safe out there and live mighty.